Welcome back to the DFS Sweatshop. I am your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me. Of course, you see it on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Today, we are going to be talking about what happened on last night's slate. A little bit still going on in some solid spots, man. Here we've got, I think I'm at 193 at this point, about tripling up on my buy-in, so I'm pretty excited about that. My very best lineup right now, as it stands, is the Sale, Strom, Bad Idea, Grandal, who I was on all day. This was a Boston stack where I got Manny Machado in there. Corey Seager was a guy that was really good. Adam Jones, Smith, Trumbo, a zero. I had a negative play and a zero in my best lineup, and this is why stacking is so important. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes a little bit more. But first, let's talk about some of my other ones. This 140, 140. I had another lineup that was at about 170, I think. Yeah, this one was a really good one. Uh, Montgomery, Sale, LaCroix, who I should have had Grandal there. Encarnacion. This is a Pittsburgh stack that we talked about. Aaron Judge, kind of underwhelmed here. Steven Drew, man, 17. Very solid game from him. Polanco. Yo, if I would have gotten what I thought I was going to get toward the end of the Pittsburgh game, I would have taken down everything. I would have taken down everything. I'm serious because the Pirates in the first couple innings, put up 6 runs and put up one more for the rest of the game. It was tough. It was tough watching that because I was sitting up high for a long time in the thousands for a little while, and of course, dropped back down to earth. So, as you know, every day I throw out the tweets and I ask, who will be the gang stack of tonight's MLB slate? And I threw out the New York Yankees, the Cleveland Indians, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I had, either stacks or one-offs from these specific teams pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. I did have a couple Yankee stacks that did not pan out very well. However, I will be going back to them because as long as they're in the Bronx, I'm going to be playing the Yankees. The Indians, pretty solid, but I just had too much kitness in my Indian stack, and in lineups where I didn't have where I didn't have uh, uh, where I didn't have Indian stack, the one off that I chose to use was Kipnis, and that just wasn't a good thing. Had honestly had no real Diamondback stack because they were just too expensive, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do as far as pitching. But I did have a couple of one offs here and there, and the Dodgers, man, those guys is what really, really, really saved the night. If it wasn't for having those guys hitting late in games, man, and see that's something I want to talk to you about as well. When we do the line drive at 5, everybody, and Seager is only at 4%. Just want to let you know. And there's a reason why Seager, Bellinger, these guys go completely under-owned. There's a reason why. It's a couple of reasons. The first one is because there are the late games, and we know how important it is to know what the batting orders. And this dude's gonna have another at bat. He's gonna have another at bat. It's crazy. So I got a chance to move up some more. We know how important. If Forsythe gets a hit, he's going to get another at bat. We know how important it is to know the batting orders. Lineups lock most of the time 7:05, 7:10 at the latest. Sometimes if Houston playing, it starts at 6. All right, so you know when the lineups are going to be locking, and you know who the batting orders are. But those late games, you don't know. And that's why, it's good to lean on guys in the group, man. There's one guy in particular, Dylan Zink, who pretty much knows the roster every day. Why? Because he's out there in Cali. He knows. You know what I'm saying? There's a few guys, that live out on the West Coast that kind of, know, pretty much have a great idea what the batting order is going to be. So communicate with these guys, man. Chop it up, right? And so when you look at it and you're like, man, I don't know what the lineups are going to be, so forget it. I'm just not going to play those guys. I'm just going to concentrate on the games where I know that and everybody's doing that. So nobody's getting exposure to these cats that are hitting a bunch of home runs. And right now, the Dodgers are, without comparison, like without even thinking, the hottest team in baseball right now. And it sucks that we don't get the lineups by 5 o'clock, but that's just a part of the game, and we have to adjust to that. And without knowing what the lineup would be, I went out and I played I played Dodger stacks. I played Seager in some spots. I played Bellinger in some spots. You just got to do it. And that's what made a difference in my night. And that's something that I hadn't been doing, something that we hadn't been doing as a group. It's something that we haven't been doing as a group for the last week specifically. Like we hadn't been doing that. And you can tell because we haven't really been tearing it up like how we were earlier. Okay? So take a look at that, man, going forward. Look at those late games, man. Invest in those late games if there is something to invest in. And when the Dodgers were playing like crap, but they were playing the late games, we really didn't. It didn't matter when the Dodgers weren't playing very well. When the Arizona Diamondbacks, or excuse me, when the Angels weren't playing well, it really didn't matter because we weren't playing the Angels. But now that these teams, it's their turn to start their streak because we know baseball, sports in general, is a game of streaks and slumps. The good teams have longer streaks. The bad teams have longer slumps. Right? So this was the tweet that went out, man. 97 votes, pretty good response rate for everybody. Thank you all who participated. But yo, the Yankees, man, let me down. The Yankees let me down. It was bad. It was the Yankees were bad. But as long as they're in the Bronx, I'm going to be playing them. Indians pretty good. Kipnis was horrible. You know, it seemed like Kipnis and Lindor take turns stinking up the joint. Like both of them never play well. The Diamondbacks, they were decent. You got the home run from Goldie at almost 6K. But the Dodgers, man, the Dodgers smoked it. They were, without question, the gang stack of tonight's 15-game MLB slate. Now, let's go ahead and jump into it on DraftKings. Kind of take a look here. Let's lineups. And what we want to do is take a look, see what we've got. Because we know we got a 15-game all-day slate. We do have an early slate with 4 games up in there. D West, what's happening, big homie? Good to see you, fam. Now, you know we do have a 4-game early. The first pitch goes out at 12:10 Eastern. We've got 15 games, of course, and the main is going to be an 11-game slate that kicks off. First pitch goes out at 7:05. Now, I got to tell you, on Wednesdays, the wife and I, we attend Bible study, and it's in a town about 40 miles away, so I will not be doing a line drive at 5 tomorrow. The very best I may be able to do is to get a session in at 4 o'clock. That's the very best I may be able to do. Okay? So I'm sorry about that, but we're going to go into the early slate. We're going to look at it from an all-day standpoint. Just go through all 15 games and put our focus on pitching. But since there is a possibility that there might not be a line drive at 5, I am going to speak a little bit more in depth about some batter stacks that I like, or just some batters that I like. We're going to talk about all of that, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to pop that open so that I can reference back to make sure we have the same pitching. And you can, ooh, man, Scherzer, Berrios. Berrios is now 11.4. Scherzer is 14.1. Carrasco, 10.9. Samardzija, 9.4. Rich Hill, 8.9. Pomerantz, 8.5. Man, this is a tough pitching slate, bro. Because either you're paying up or you're laying it down. Either you're paying up or you're laying it down. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. We're going to open it up on RotoQL here. I want to take a look at what the actual games are going to be in the early so we can have a better idea of which pitchers are going to be involved in each slate. Let's go ahead and open that up. Let's go to DraftKings here and take a look at the early. All right, we got the Washington. Okay, so we got Scherzer in the early. We got Miami, Washington, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. Where we got Scherzer, Straley. We've got Adelman, Ramirez here. We got Pomerantz, Kennedy, and Miguel Diaz, Eddie Butler. Okay, cool. So it's not the crazy pitching stuff is really not going to affect us in the main. It's really not. Those guys or Scherzer, so to speak, is going to be in that early, so it's all good. And you can play Scherzer in the early. You can. I mean, it's not enough to like fade him completely. You can play him. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it, man. We're gonna rock all day. First game we got on the all-day slate and only on the early is going to be the Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins. We got Max Scherzer here at 14.1, Dan Straley at 7.5. Yes, you can go back to the Nats in the spot. You know, Dan Straley is a very solid pitching prospect at 7.5, but against the Nats, man, you just don't want to test them. 31.85 last time out against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. That was a very good start. He has seen Washington the first game of the season, negative 7.3. Tough. So Can't really get behind Scherzer, especially with the Washington Nationals being one of those teams that are able to really just score. Now, one thing I want you to take notice of, in the early, there's two ways you can cash. You can roll with the chalk and kind of roll with everybody else. Just hope you pick the right chalky guys and end up min cashing, which is cool. Or you can be completely contrarian and play bats and stacks that you wouldn't normally play. You know that, and those are the guys. If it pans out, they're going to be at the top of the tournaments. Okay. So in this spot, definitely get your Nat stack on, man. Anytime you see Bryce Harper in a good matchup against a righty, you can play him most certainly. No issue there. Daniel Murphy, these guys are all in play. Not loving any of the Miami guys, but that's going to be your way to really separate yourselves in tournaments. If you think Max Scherzer can get hit, take a look at him. I think he has seen Miami already this season. We're going to take a look and see what has taken place. No, he hasn't. This is going to be his first start against Miami this season, so we don't really have anything to look off. But, yo, 3 40-point games, man. 35, 30, 36, 32, 30, 30. Dude is a beast. Dude is a monster, man. And I think at this point, you got to play him. Maybe not in the all day on a 15-game slate, man, but on a 4-game slate, man, just play him. You'll find ways. You'll find ways to fit him in. Next game we got is going to be the Cincinnati Reds and the Tampa Bay Rays here. Tim Adelman and Erasmo Ramirez. Let's take a look here and see. Make sure these are the correct. Yes. Both pitchers are attackable in this spot. Most certainly Tim Adelman. I like the fact that he's a righty going up against this really left-handed heavy rotation. Now, you're probably going to see cats like Malik Smith get back into the rotation. They did have that day of rest. Lomo, good play. You can look at Souza Jr. here, Kobe Rasmus. Corey Dickerson hit a jack last night. He should be a guy that you can take advantage of. And if Malik Smith gets on, man, he is going to snag a bag. He's priced up a little bit at 3.8. There was a time when the dude was like minimum salary on some sites. I'm talking his best game, 2.8. He scored 40 points. Like that was like a coming out party for him. So the guy can steal bases. The guy is very fast. If he gets on, he is most certainly a candidate for stolen bases. Erasmo Ramirez, 6.2. Taking a look here, just bad, man. -8, 10, 7, -4. Not a great pitching prospect by any stretch of the imagination. I love to play Votto and kind of stack Cincinnati guys against right-handed pitching. So I definitely think that you can take a shot at a lot of the left-handed power and guys like Suarez, Duvall. I can call for a game game stack in this spot. Most certainly, I like it. I like it. Next game we got is going to be the Boston Red Sox and the Kansas City Royals. You got Drew Pomeranz here, going to be facing a pretty good right-handed order, man. When you take a look at Bonifacio, Whit Merrifield, and Pomeranz is not a guy that scares me. 16, -2, 22, 29, 32 in his last 5 starts. He's not a guy that scares me, man. He does throw some ugly pitches that are hard to hit, but I mean the Royals, man, they're really good. So very disciplined at the plate. Over the last 14 days, you're going to see the Royals are 15th in the league, middle of the pack in terms of K rate, 21.4%. But that ISO is shining, glimmering. 217 ISO, that means they can hit for extra bases as well as a 351 WOBA. So that means that those guys, they get on and they score, and you can play them. I mean, those guys hit jacks and kind of knocked Sale out of the game. It was kind of late, but they knocked them out of the game. And I definitely think that these guys can get to Pomeranz here as he is a left-hander. You're going to see a lot of right-handed power here. And honestly, Mike Moustakas is not bad versus lefties. Neither is Eric Hosmer. So I like some of the Kansas City guys. I think they're going to go low-owned. There's 14 mile per hour winds in this spot in Kauffman Stadium. I like that as well. Give me some of those Kansas City bats. I can definitely get my fair share of that. Now, how do I feel about the Boston side? They kind of came to life today. It's something they don't normally do. I hate the fact that Mitch Moreland and Hanley Ramirez are both only first base eligible because I kind of like Moreland in this spot, but I do love Hanley Ramirez at 3.5. I'm going to be playing him. If I don't play an all-out Boston stack, I'm going to have some exposure to Hanley Ramirez here, and Jackie Bradley Jr. has been knocking it out. I like a couple of guys here. The next game we got, and the last game on the early, as we move into the main slate, is going to be the San Diego Padres and Chicago Cubs. Eddie Butler is a guy you can play, most assuredly. You're going to see a lot of Eddie Butler matched with Scherzer. You're going to see a lot of that, and you should. for the simple fact that you look at what the San Diego Padres do, man, they are second in the league in K rate, 26.5%. They do have a really nice ISO at 208 and a 338 WOBA, but this team can strike out a lot, and they do strike out a lot. So, Eddie Butler's a guy that has had a decent start or two this year at 6.1, very cheap. 20.35, 24 in his first start. He's had some middle of the road starts as well against Pittsburgh. That .55 is not sexy at all, but I think he's going to get some run support in the spot with the Chicago Cubs order, especially Anthony Rizzo leading off here. So I've got no issue playing Eddie Butler. Michael Diaz is cheap as shit at 4.4, and if you want to be completely contrarian, you can play them. You can play him. As a matter of fact, I am gonna make a crazy lineup where I can play Scherzer and Miguel Diaz and hope he doesn't get completely shelled, because the Chicago Cubs are not as good at home as a lot of people think. I mean, they have not been like tearing the cover off of the ball at home. They just don't. We've got 6 mile per hour wind coming back toward the infield, so it's not like balls are gonna be carrying out of Wrigley Field. So and in doing that, it's going to give me some exposure to a couple of guys on the San Diego roster. So I definitely think that's the way to go. Attacking the chalk, which is going to be Eddie Butler tomorrow, attacking the chalk could definitely help you out. So do not be afraid to play some San Diego bats. Okay, next game we got, which is going to start the main slate, is going to be the Cleveland Indians and the Baltimore Orioles. We got Carlos Carrasco against Kevin Guzman here. You know what? I'm not paying 10.9 for anything in Camden Yards right now. Camden Yards is litty. It is litty. Okay? And who's pitching versus Washington? It's Straley. You got Dan Straley is going to be pitching versus Scherzer here. All right, so you got Carlos Carrasco at 10.9, a guy that really struggles with control, man. 26, 14, 1, 26, 11, 4, 31. He's a guy that really struggles with control. And when he puts it all together, he's going to be really good. But this is not a team that the Orioles, that is, it's not a team that you can make mistakes over the plate with. And he does that a lot, man. And that gets him in trouble. And for that reason, I am going to I really wish that we saw sizable, we are seeing sizable discounts for some of the Orioles guys. I mean, you got Manny Machado, who just went off for damn near 50 at 3.7. I like that. You got Trumbo is still priced up at 4.2. You got Seth Smith 3.9. So I'm gonna like some Orioles tomorrow. I most certainly am. And you can see the opening money line is 156 to -173. You should see the public money automatically go all the way towards Cleveland. I think that the Baltimore Orioles can be a sneaky stack here. I kind of like some of this. All right. Also, we're going right back to Cleveland. They're one of the hotter teams in the league right now. Let's take a look at what they've been doing in terms of K rates. One of the more disciplined teams in the league. Actually, the